Let's go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bob?
Heavenly Father, as we gather today, we look back at all of the blessings you've given to us over the years. We look for guidance today as we go through our agenda and we speak with our people and we think and act for our taxpayers. Help us to make good decisions. Help us to keep you always in our hearts and minds as we make those decisions. And as you look around for additional blessings to grant, we could use a little bit more of your rain. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Bob. Couple things with regard to the chair's comments. One is to keep in mind that this is voting season. I think we'll get a report from Gabby a little bit later on, but I appreciate everyone who has come out to vote in advance, either by mail or in person. And for those of you watching online and those of you in the room, don't forget that tomorrow is the last day to vote by 7 o'clock tomorrow evening. So this is an important election, not only statewide, but federally as well. So I encourage everybody to exercise their right to vote. I think our Secretary of State's predicting a 50-some% turnout. I always am amused that we get excited about a 50% turnout of registered voters. To me, it should be 100%, but it's never going to be that. Second thing I want to mention is this week is, at the end of the week, is officially Veterans Day, and we do want to honor veterans. We do want to thank veterans, both men and women who have served for this country and trying to keep us safe from harm and protect us, but also helping other countries that are not as blessed as we are, and helping those residents, those citizens, with their safety and shelter and so forth too. So I encourage you to take time out. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there's a parade Friday for Veterans Day. I do know that there's a program that's free out at the community college in the Perryman Center at 10 o'clock Thursday that I would encourage people to attend if they can get there on Thursday morning. And then I know the Marines are having their annual thing. Is that Wednesday evening? Is some night this week. I don't remember which night, but there's a Marine activity that's going on as well that happens each and every year here.
Marine Birthday Bowl.
Yeah, right. So it's an important week, both from an election standpoint and honoring our veterans, and I encourage you to think and pray for both of those as we go through the week. The other comment is really a question. Commissioners, you see the agenda in front of you. Is there anything, and you note that we'll have a couple of executive sessions at the end. Is there anything you need to add, that we need to add or subtract from the agenda in your opinion? If not, we'll proceed with the meeting. And the first item is the consent agenda. You see several items on there. What is the board's desire?
Mr. Chairman, I would offer a motion to approve the consent agenda as published.
It's motioned and it's seconded by Bob to approve the items on the consent agenda. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on our agenda is public comment. It may have mainly staff and a couple of others outside of the county government. But anyone have an item they want to comment on that's not on our agenda? Seeing none, we'll move into the business items. Paul, we're going to have you come up first. And for the public, as you step forward, if you would say name and position with the county.
I'm Paul Resley, the emergency manager for Finney County. here to get a resolution signed for the wildland fire we had out here on 50 and Towns Boulevard on the 23rd of October. Started at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We had to bring in Kansas Forest Service Task Force 7 to help mitigate the fire, but guys did a real good job and got it out in about 4 hours, so we were very fortunate. So, and we had the Emergency Operations Center open, so it really helped a bunch being prepared, so it didn't take us long after the fire we realized was out of control to be able to contact somebody to get a resolution. So that mitigated a lot of the problems, along with the great help we had from the local farmers. We had 9 local farmers, very reluctant to give out names, because that's the community. They're just here to help in any way they can, so that mitigated a lot. We had on Skylar Swords, thank him for having his ambulance out there. Kurt Loxton, I had contacted Public Works on Friday in anticipation of the weather. He had 3 water tankers on standby, and we used 2 of them, I know for sure. And they made a timely response to get out there. And then we had our 15 personnel from the city here, plus the 12 on callback, Garfield, Holcomb, Kearney, Pierceville, Kansas Forest Service, Sheriff's Office, KHP, and then the 9 area farmers. We had about 45 additional personnel out on site. You know, it got awful close to towns out there for a while. We were very fortunate the wind was out of the north, or out of the south instead of the north, so mitigated some of that. We did evacuate 4 occupied dwellings out there. They were displaced about 2.5 hours, so I did contact Red Cross in case we needed long-term care for them, so they were thankful that they were for all the help that was out there. So I can't say enough with all the help out there, and especially local farmers, because they were fighting embers all the way up to 156. They were putting out spot fires up there. That's just how strong the wind was and blowing the embers. So, but hopefully and pray we get some rain to kind of mitigate some of this. So, that's all I have.
And we need some of that rain for the burned ground from a blowing standpoint.
Yes, we do. And, and I think they did a real good job of working that ground out there, because the next day I drove out there to assess some of it. They lost about 600 acres out there is what Kansas Forest Service took survey on. Plus one of our Garden City Fire brush trucks we lost out there. Fortunately, the 2 firefighters just suffered a little smoke inhalation, and they were transported for observation, but fortunately they're doing well. So, but yeah, they worked that ground out there and knocked the dust down. So that was a problem on Monday, because I know they were directing some of the traffic out there. They had the sheriff's office out there for a little while. So
Yeah, they've worked some ground, they've hauled manure on some ground.
they've been busy.
The other thing that, 2 comments I would make, or a couple comments I would make. One is not just the burned ground, but there was some crop damage because of the blowing sand and the static electricity that from that sand blowing on hay and some triticale that the farmers are going to have to deal with. But to the rest of you commissioners, whenever you're in this role as chair and you see Paul's name come up as a caller ID, answer the phone. And then when he says, I said, "Where's the fire?" and he says, "Across from your house," and then you get real concerned. But Paul is exactly right. If the wind had been coming from the north, we would have had a disaster with those
Exactly.
subdivisions. But fortunately, the wind was from the right direction.
Exactly.
So, questions or comments? I'll look at Dave first.
Make a comment, the resolution that Paul's asking has the force and effect of putting the county emergency operations plan into effect with the force of law. So that's what the big share of what this does, and so, good.
We'll ask for a motion here in a little
Yeah.
bit, but I want to just see if anybody's got questions or comments. Dwayne? Bob? Larry? Okay. So, Gabby, it looks like the resolution number is 45-2022. Is that still correct? And I should say, Gabby's serving a dual role today because of Dory's absence and let's see, who normally is over there, Gabby? Oh, yeah, Tyler. Yeah, Tyler is not here as well, but appreciate you serving a dual role today, computers and clerking. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve Resolution 45-2022.
You're looking at me there, Larry. Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to offer a motion to allow you to sign Resolution 45-2022.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second Commissioner Jones's motion.
First, the motion and the second by Jones and Jones. So we're in good hands. Any further? Yeah. Any
Scary.
any further comments or discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Good
Motion
work there,
passes.
Paul.
Thank you.
And just pass our thanks on to all the ones that you're in communication with that helped with that. And
They done a great job again. I know the community, the local area, great people, don't want any recognition. They just want to be out there to help everybody, so.
exactly.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate your efforts. Curtis, it looks like we got a couple things with your name by the side.
Kurt Logston, Finney County Public Works Director. All right, the first thing I got here is pavement marking. We'd gone out to bid on the pavement marking on October 25th. We gave them a couple options in order to give us. One was the oil-based or latex paint, which is what Finney County has done in the past, and then I wanted to get an idea what the multi-component paint was costing, so they also bid on that. Before I go on any more on this, eventually we're gonna probably wanna change over to the multi-component paint because it'll stay on the highways for several years. The problem we have right now with it is that we need to be able to sync the striping out with the sealing of the roads. And it's probably gonna take me another year to try to get that arranged to where once we seal some roads, we can stripe those roads and that striping will last for 5 years. So that's where we're gonna head in the future. We only received one bid, and basically what we need to do, what I'd like to do is go ahead and have the one bid accepted, which was option one, and you would be approving the low bid from straight line striping for option one at $14,577.50, and then grant permission for the Public Works Director to sign the contracts.
You've heard the request from Curtis, and I'll start with Larry on this one. And any questions or comments?
No questions, no comments.
Okay. Bob, anything from your?
In looking at your recommendation in terms of changing to a different quality, let's call it paint or composition or whatever, the one person who did both said it's double the cost. Is that what you're anticipating the cost to be differential when you step up to this new painting material?
It could, well, on that bid, it was twice the cost. And then another bid we received was quite a bit higher. But I don't know, it could be 2 to 3 times more. The only difference is the paint that we're using now really only lasts 1 year.
1 year.
Yeah, and the multi-component paint will last 4 to 5 years. It's the same paint that the state highways use. The only thing is we never know of is when we have a really bad winter to where we're putting a shorten the life of it. But it's it's a better way to go. It's a higher visibility paint. But again, we just can't do it until we're ready to, so we can get the most years out of it.
So,
Yeah,
just to summarize with regard to that, make sure I'm understanding too, the upfront cost is gonna be more, but it should last longer.
Yes.
The annual cost, if you amortize it out,
Yes.
be similar. Right.
And that's what we're, I'm wanting to do is about every 5 years, the roads should be resealed. And so if I just need to do them in conjunction with each other.
It's pretty important, because I've been in snowstorms, and that is the only way I can find
Yep.
the road is looking out the window.
Yep.
Go
I
ahead, Bob.
think
Go ahead,
that was-
Bob.
That was the other question, was how long typically do we go between resurfacing? And so you answered that. And then I guess the last question, this is not something that we have the ability to do ourselves. We don't have a painting, striping equipment that we would normally have the ability to do
No.
in some of our off.
No, and with the amount of miles we do and stuff, there's ways that there's trailers and stuff that the county could purchase to do it ourselves, but to be honest with you, the only right way to do it is with the big trucks. They can give you a lot straighter line, and they put the coverage down a lot more efficient. And the trucks are just way too much for us to purchase. We wouldn't get they'd cost us way more than what it'd be saving us.
Okay, very good. Thanks for the answers.
That it? All right, thank you. Dwayne, anything?
You guys have answered them.
I have a question, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman. Is it a safe bet that there's not gonna be any striping in the wintertime here? You're gonna want warmer weather. If that's a true statement, would it be desirable from your perspective, Curtis, to table this bid or cancel it and let you go back out and bid the higher quality material and kind of start this process all over?
Well, actually, we've got temporary striping down now. Because we have temporary striping down now, we need to go ahead and stripe those roads. We're not gonna stripe the roads if we have during cold weather. We gotta make sure that they're striped during the right weather. So we'll make sure of that. By next year, when we work on the 24 budget, I hope to have that in the 24 budget to where we can start putting the better striping down.
Well, you're the expert here. I was just wondering if it was helpful to not accept this bid and bid the higher quality paint, or, but you're stating a good reason to go ahead and approve this bid, so.
Yes, what I need to do is that this next year, I am going to be looking at all of our paving that we have. I need to put it on I've got to determine the priority of it and then put it on a multi-level bidding process. So I would rather wait until I've done that before I start putting down this high-priced striping. I don't want to have to cover any of the high-priced striping.
All right.
Now, Lon, in this, I don't know if you noticed that on my recommendation, in order to have you approve the $14,577.50, I also had in there for you guys to go ahead and approve the director to sign the contracts. That is something I told you last time that we were going to start doing instead of having to come back twice.
After attorney review.
Oh, yes, yes.
Right.
Yes.
That's a piece of the process, no question about that. But yes, I did see that as part of this. And then lastly, I will just make a quick comment. Kurt mentioned the temporary markings on these roads. Towns Road is one of those. Pierceville Road is another one of those. And I had a call on the Pierceville Road even before we got the temporary tape down with regard to safety and being able to see the middle of the road and the shoulders. So I think it is important that, and I appreciate what Dave is asking, is it more efficient to wait? But we've got a couple roads, at least that I'm familiar with, that need to be striped pretty quick. Now, your warm days are the next 3 days, so.
I don't know if it's gonna happen.
No,
We're gonna have to hope for, yeah.
I'm just saying, it's 70s the next 3 days, and it's 40s.
I hope it gets rained out.
That
know-
would be okay, too.
And the reason why we're later this year is that it all stemmed from earlier in the year when we had gone out to bid for, Larry had gone out to bid for the crack sealing. Now, in the past, what we had been doing is we were crack sealing the roads during the summertime, okay? Well, during the summertime is the absolute worst time to be sealing the cracks because the cracks are closed. Okay, you want the temps to go down so the cracks start opening up on you a little bit, and then you want to seal them. And so because of that, that has delayed the process it delayed the process actually on the sealing and on the striping. Next year, we should have, we should be, have a lot better timing next year. We'll just say for the striping.
Other comments, or
I just, the one on the signing the contracts, is there a policy or anything else that we're going around that says you don't sign the contracts, we relegate that to different division levels? I know what the practice has been, but was it a policy or is this just practical? I know it saves a hell of a lot of time.
This is an unwritten practice. So many of counties across the state of Kansas, they provide the authorization from the board to sign that, so they can give that responsibility then to the director. And as Linda pointed out, normally subject, almost always subject to legal counsel review.
Okay, good.
no, that's a reasonable question, yep. So I would accept a motion to approve the low bid from Straight Line Striping for $14,577.50, and grant permission for Curtis to sign the contract.
So move.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Dwayne. Any further questions or discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you, Curtis. On to the next one with regard to a truck.
Okay. In May of '21, the Board of County Commissioners approved the purchase of a new patch truck to include an asphalt box and Peterbilt chassis. In November of '21, that Peterbilt chassis was no longer available. And so in January of '22, the board approved an option to go with an international chassis for that asphalt patch truck. When I was in Colorado for that conference that yourself and Robert and I went to, and a few others, at that time I was told that we was going to receive that patch truck in spring of '23. Well, we just got notified from them that now that patch truck is being pushed off all the way until sometime in 2024. And again, this is a truck that was ordered in '21. They gave us well, and in doing that, they raised the price on the truck again, and I have it in there. They raised it another $9,185 for the chassis, and they were looking at probably having another price increase on the patch part of the truck also. And they're saying probably a substantial increase. Well, they gave us a lot of different options, and what I want to do is when I came here, the patch truck had already been ordered. And there is another way that I like to patch the roads. They have it's a spray injection that's done by a truck. You actually, you have a driver in the truck, and the driver stays in the truck, and you patch it in front. You have a cab over truck, and you can blow it out, you can prime it, tack it, and repair the patch with one operator. I have bought 4 of these trucks before through my career, and they are by far the better way to patch asphalt. I also looked up that this is a little bit older one, but this is something that I had gone by a long time ago when I got started. But the U.S. Department of Transportation deems that the spray injection patching is the most economical and longest lasting method of pothole repair, bar none. It is the better way to go. The way we're doing it right now is we'll send a crew out during the summertime, and what Pat likes to do is he likes to patch the roads when the heat is the hottest. And he's right, you get a better patch that way. But, you know, when it gets kind of hot here during the summertime, can be pretty hard on the crews to be out patching hot asphalt, you know, in 100+ degree weather. This truck, what's nice about it, it has all the lights, it has all the aero boards, it's one person. You can actually do the patching at nighttime. A lot of the times when you have roads that have high traffic level, it turns out to be a major deal, but when you have one operator in this truck, is amazing how much he can do. Now, eventually we would have to go to 2 trucks, but these trucks last a long time if they're taken care of right. That is what I would like to go to. Now, in the alternatives here with Berg Camp, they do have one of the better trucks out there and methods for this spray patching. So what I'd really like to do is I'd like to not accept their bid for the patch truck, but to actually talk to them about their spray truck and see what we could get that for. They do have a Peterbilt chassis that's already been ordered, and they're expecting that next year to their yard. If we act here pretty quick, we could very possibly be able to get this truck next year. If we don't do that and we don't accept the bid, this increase, I don't know how long it'll be before we can have something else. And the patch truck that we're using now, it's used up. They're having a hard time with it.
What I see and also hear that you're asking us today, though, is to simply cancel the order for that we previously had approved back in January of 22, I believe, or no, excuse me, in May of 21. I'm sorry, I was reading the wrong number. In May of 21, then you'll proceed. If we cancel that order, then you'll proceed with the other stuff and bring that back to us.
Yes.
And
Yes.
nothing for us to do on that today.
No, no.
That's the way I understand it.
I just wanted, you know, it's the way that we had set this up. I'm asking just to, now there was a $5,000 fee if we did not follow through with the truck. But they understand all this and they are waiving that fee. So there's no charge to us for not going with their bid.
And staying within the spirit of what we talked about previously, it's my understanding that, Linda, you've reviewed the contract and confirmed that we can cancel that order without any penalties. Is that correct?
I've confirmed that based on their offer to waive the cancellation fee, we don't have to pay it. Not based on the contract, but based on the new offer.
Okay. All right. That's fair. That's fair. So both you, Linda, and Kurt are affirming with us that if we cancel that, based on their waiver and based on the fact that we have the right to cancel, that there is no cost to the county to get out of that order.
Correct, as long as they stay to their word.
Okay.
And I believe they will. I believe they will.
It's in writing.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned.
Okay. Thank you. I just think we need to have that peace of mind, so. Larry, I'll look at you first. Questions, comments?
Are they the only ones that make this type of equipment?
Nope.
For camp?
No, there's probably 5 or 6 out there. I have used 3 different models myself.
So are you thinking about just putting it all out for bid then?
I will probably, yes, I will probably do that. To be honest with you, I think we have to. Even if I have my preferences, we're gonna have to put it out to bid.
What, are they in the same ballpark of $250,000 for?
No, actually, the truck, they say that this option is actually more. I think they had quoted actually 300,000.
Just for the chassis?
No, for the entire thing. For the entire thing. The truck that they have ordered, again, I don't know what chassis it is. I do know it's supposed to be a chassis for the spray patcher though. So the spray patcher they have is probably going to be on the higher side of some of these other units, but that's because it's about twice the size, which I like that because you can carry twice the amount of aggregate and tack oil with you. So you're gonna, have to be making less trips. Then at the same time, what I like about theirs is that they have 2 hoppers to where you can actually carry 2 different aggregates in there. And so if you have a deep pothole, typically what you would want the larger sized aggregate for that, and then you would put the top coating of the smaller aggregate. So they have a really premium setup that I do like. One thing that you all should know, and I didn't say a while ago, is that these patches are about a third of the cost of your normal patching. So when you're out there patching these potholes, it's only a third of what you would typically spend by doing it the way that it's done right now. It's a lot cheaper, a lot less waste. And then what's nice is that instead of needing, right now, by the time you have the guys with the shovels and the rake, we're using about 5 guys, I believe, is what Pat's using right now. And that doesn't include the flaggers. So you're taking a job that's right now probably taking 5 to 7 guys, and you're putting that down to just 1 guy. It's a big change in efficiency, and it's the better patch.
How do you pack the patch, or do you pack it?
Well, the technique that they have is you put it in. You'll add the emulsion and the aggregate, and probably depends on how deep the pothole is, but you put it like in 10 different lifts, and so you get a 92.5% compaction rate by doing it in the small lifts instead of when you shove it in and you're putting a good 2-inch lift. In my experience, though, when you patch one of these potholes, the patch never comes out. The asphalt around it will break and bust out before the pothole will ever come out. You never have to do it again.
It's interesting.
Bob?
No, I just think we need to get comparatives, but as long as, that way you can sit down and it says, well, this one will do this, but that one won't do that, and we can look at value
Yep.
rather than just dollars.
I agree.
Dwayne?
It's a great idea. I like the new concept. I didn't realize there's something like that out there. And the only comment I have, if they're gonna change the deal on their side of the deal with the old contract, I think we should have the option of canceling out, so.
I agree.
I have nothing.
So with that, excuse me, I would entertain a motion to cancel the entire order for the chassis and the asphalt patching machine that was ordered previously.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we cancel the order for the said truck and machine.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Dwayne. Any further questions or comments? If not, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you, Curtis.
Thanks.
And we're just going to continue on. I don't have any board governance things today to bring up, so we're going to continue on with Curtis and his report. We had asked Curtis and then also Gabby, sometimes we'll have the written reports from department heads and so forth, but periodically we need to have them report in person as well. And so with that, we're going to move into the department reports, or staff reports, as it's itemized on our agenda. And Curtis, go ahead.
Okay, the first update I have for you is on our bridges. As you'll see on the map in front of you, there was 6 bridges that we just had to drop the load rating on. Now, here a while back, I think it was in 14, Kansas developed a statewide off-system bridge load rating program. This came about when there was that bad bridge collapsed in, I think, in Minnesota that killed a bunch of people. When that happened, the nation decided that they have to do something to make sure that these bridges in our nation are looked at and the load ratings have been checked on them. So Kansas developed a 10-year program, and that's where this came from. They came back to me with this load rating crew came back to me and said that they had inspected all of our bridges, and they had 6 bridges that we had to lower the weight limits on. And every member of that bridge is checked. If there's a crack in it, they put all these calculations to it. I've seen some of these reports. On one bridge, you can have as much as 115 to 120 pages of these calculations that they do to determine this on the load ratings. But we had 6 of them, and really, it's not bad. It's not bad news. A lot of other counties are actually having to shut bridges down. So we're very fortunate here. And I wanted just to bring this up to you so you could see where these bridges are and which ones got lowered.
With that, questions or comments? We're in a report area, not an action area of the agenda. But if you have questions or comments, Curtis is here to give us input. So, Dwayne, looks like you want to go.
How much were they lowered, Curtis?
Well,
Down to 43 ton, what was it before?
well, the weight limit on a bridge, if it's not posted, is going to be 85.5. Okay, so when you go over a bridge, and if you don't see any weight limit signs, that means it's at full capacity, which means 85.5. Now, we all know that farmers don't tend to stick by these weights, but I know there's no farmers in the crowd here, so. But.
It'll fit.
But 85.5.
The second question is, we I also haven't rebuilt a bridge for a few years. How are our bridges? Is there anything that needs to be replaced?
No, no. We have one bridge that we're trying to pull a grant on. It's our bridge that has the lowest sufficiency rating on it. That's the bridge that I came to you earlier this year and said that we had a grant. We got $150,000, but it was gonna cost us another $500,000 to fix this bridge, replace this bridge. And we decided not to do it. But since I have put in for another grant, which would only make our share 5 to 10% as the match. So we'll see what happens then with that, but it's not even in that bad a shape at all. So we're in real good shape.
Dave, you have anything?
Not now, no.
Not regarding the bridges? Okay. Bob, regarding bridges?
Good information.
Larry, anything? Okay.
Yeah, out in this country, it's more a lack of water than the bridge.
And they're not all John Deere combine wide. We know that, so.
Well, the one picture that KDOT keeps using in their meetings on transportation and bridges and so forth is the tractor with the grain cart that didn't make it across the bridge around Hutchison. I don't know, was that a couple years ago? And they keep putting that picture up on the screen each time. It wasn't in our county, fortunately, but
I think that grain cart had about 1,400 bushels in it.
I think it might have been overloaded for that bridge weight limit. But
Been going faster, maybe.
I think they would have made it going faster, yeah, because they were partway across.
Yeah.
But anyhow, that's a picture they keep using each time they talk about bridge deterioration and so forth. So with that, no more questions on the bridges. Let's move forward with other reports. Curtis?
Okay, next thing I wanted to update you on is that it might have been the week before last, when I had a supervisor meeting with the Department of Public Works. And we was going over the budget and everything as we normally do. Well, we have actually expended more on our diesel right now than what was budgeted for the entire year. We all knew this was going to happen. So what I've done is I've actually defueled the department to where we are not, basically the graders are parked right now, the trucks are parked right now, except for absolute have-tos. I'm going to wait until probably the 1st of December. We'll look at November's figures on the budget to see where we're at. I might be able to get some more out there right now, but we are actually $35,402 overspent in diesel right now, and $5,099 is all we have left in gas. But at this point, I'm not worried about it because of where we're at and other line items in our budget. I just know that I can't, holding back some money in different areas to make sure we can pay for the diesel at the end of the year.
Questions or comments?
Me too.
You're over your budget too? Yeah. I've heard a couple reports at the coffee table just recently that are quite a bit over as well. Dave, any comments about that?
Nope.
Bob? Larry? Okay.
Okay, the next thing is I want to give an update on our sewer districts. You remember you said that, Lon?
Yes.
Good deal, because our sewer district 1 is basically the one, it's going along real good. It hasn't been giving us too many problems. It's kind of been it's been the one God sent to us on sewer districts this year, just no trouble. Sewer District 2 has been fairly problematic. We currently have a temporary electrical line going to one lift station out there that we will have to get buried. We're gonna wait just a little bit because we're having the designs done on our big project to update all of our sewer districts, as you guys are aware of. Sewer District 3 is the one that we've had the most issues with up to about now. But that's the one that has never been cleaned out since it was, since it became into existence. But it's being cleaned out right now. Things are going real good. I haven't had the chance to view any of the video yet to see what we do have in there, but the project itself is going along fairly fast, which is good. Sewer District 4, though, we're calling it Sewer District 4. It's not a sewer district yet. That's the one that up there at Western Kansas Corridor, the little, our inheritance, I guess you would say. One pump on it has been down for close to 3 months. Once we finally got that pump back from the repairs, we could not get the pump to go back in. We could not see what the problem was down below because when you drop a pump in, you have to have your liquid in there because the pump has to be submerged, because if it goes on by accident without water, it'll ruin the pump. So we decided let's go ahead and limp along a little bit on the one pump that was still in there. It's been doing real good. Well, as soon as we said that, we just had the second pump seize up on us. We tried to pull that pump out. What we figured originally what we'd do is if when the second pump went out on us, we would just go ahead and pull it out and then put the one in we had rebuilt and just switch them out. Well, when we went to pull it out on Friday, we could not get it out. Something's jammed down below, and we didn't want to pull too hard because then who knows what wall we would have broke loose. So we had to keep it pumped down all weekend. We're going to pump it out again today. Tomorrow, we're trying to get the company that is doing the cleaning for us on SD3. We're going to do a change order and get them out there on Tuesday to try to clean that lift station up a little bit and then get it pumped down below where we need to so we can get down in there and see what all is busted. When we started trying to bring the other pump up, one of the guide rails was busted. So that is already telling us of a major issue down there. So I don't know where we're at. All I know is that we inherited somebody else's big problem where they wasn't doing maintenance to it. They absolutely wasn't doing anything to it. And we inherited one heck of a headache. And now the taxpayers are the ones paying for it. All I can do is after Tuesday, I'll be updating Robert, and Robert will probably keep you updated on what's going on there. But if it's all messed up down there, and we're going to probably have to try to figure out what we're going to do because it could be really costly. What we have the new design. We've prioritized with SMH. Todd is trying to get the design of that lift station done. He had hoped it would be done in 2 weeks, so I'd say we have about another week, maybe just a little bit more than 1 week, where hopefully he is complete with the design. Once that design is done, then we can go ahead and go out to bid to try to get that lift station replaced. Thing is that how soon somebody could get to it and start doing this, I have no idea. And I don't know until we inspect it what we're looking at, but I think we're going to have a big headache ahead of us.
Okay. Dave, questions or comments about that report?
Keep Keep working on it, huh?
Bundle of good news.
I hope that we don't have to pump it out, every other day for 3 or 4 months. And it could get down to that. I don't
Is
know.
there enough property there available to put another pump, another lift station?
Yes, and that's what our plan is that what our plan is was to keep this one going and put another lift station in right beside it. And then when the other one was fully ready to go, then we'd switch over real fast. But now with this, I have no idea what's gonna happen.
Created an emergency that
Yep.
we thought could happen, but we're hoping it wouldn't, so, yeah. Bob?
How far along are the designs that we approved basically a year ago? Are they getting pretty close for all of the retrofit for the ARPA money that we set aside for this?
Well, the entire design is only about probably 3 weeks away from being completed. But like I said, what I did is I told them to go ahead and put the priority to this lift station. Because we added this lift station in with the other 3 when we got this. So I'm guessing that hopefully he can have this design done within a week and a half. And then I guess about another week or so, and then we'll have the entire design done. And then we should be about ready to go out to bid.
So there is a chance that there may be some money left in the amount that we allocated of the ARPA funds to pay for this sewer district work.
We believe there is. Robert could speak to that, but we believe there's going to be enough.
Correct. At the last minute there, we went ahead and made sure that we allocated or appropriated from the recovery funds, hopefully sufficient enough to replace that when we knew when we inherited that it was going to need to be replaced, as well as you're retrofitting all the other pumps, and we're going through that standardization process as well. Same type of pumps. This may not be the same horsepower and lift and impeller, but we're standardizing the product. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Larry?
Curtis, you don't have any demand yet from the western Kansas corridor, do you?
Not yet.
It's all from the RV and the truck stop and the,
Correct.
okay.
Correct. And we have a few issues there. We're getting some very, very high levels of contamination of what the city is getting from us. We're not sure yet where all that's coming from. But it's, something's got to be done. I have an idea where some of it might be coming from, but some of the other contaminants, to me, it almost seems like we could be getting contamination from the feedlot right there next to it, but I don't know how we would be getting that unless, what we don't know of though is that we don't know what we have. We never received any plans for it. We have absolutely no idea what we have down in the ground. There could be a manhole somewhere that is possibly cracked open somewhere and we're getting some seepage coming in from the feedlot. I have no idea. That's the big problem we have, is not knowing what we have. And it's even hard to bid on that. That's what Todd's having a hard time with right now, is knowing, how to bid that when we don't know what we have.
Well, HydroClean is the company you're using for cleaning out sewer district, whatever our sewer district number is over in.
3.
Yeah, 3 over in Towns, and they're out of Lee Summit, if I remember right, as well. But nevertheless, you're having them come out and run a camera down there, is what I understand. I mean, is that what you said a little bit ago? That
Well, we're going to have them come and clean the lift station out. We were hoping that we could video the lines. We could probably still try that. The only thing is that with your force mains, sometimes your force mains have some kind of tight joints and stuff that the cameras typically don't like. The cameras are typically about 14 to 16 inches long, and a lot of the times they just won't go down a force main. where they'll go down a gravity
Well,
line.
just clarifying what you had said.
Okay.
I wasn't quite understanding what you said.
Okay.
You were gonna ask Hydro Clean to come over and do.
What the main thing was is to get it sucked out down below where the pumps have to go in,
Okay,
so we can see what is busted and what the problem is down below.
okay, now I better understand what you're asking them to do. Yeah, okay. Anything else with regard to that report? Well, fix it, Curtis. No, I'm just funning with you. Then do you have a report about KDOT and the cost share and that kind of stuff on projects?
Yes, I do. Okay. So KDOT is getting ready to have 2 more open house meetings on this project, and those meetings are going to be the 15th and 16th of November.
And
In Pierceville.
just expand, what do you mean when you say this project?
Okay, it's the Highway 50 expansion project that is happening between Dodge City and Garden City.
15's at Pierceville.
The meeting's at the church in Pierceville. This project is under, falls under the Ike bill that was passed. And they call it that they're wanting a 10% match from the county to fund these expansion projects, is what Kansas is doing now. That can be pretty costly if you're talking about and it depends on how many $1 million the project is in our county of what we would be asked. But in clarification to that, it's not necessarily a cash match. The 10%, the way that Ron called it, it's more of a goal and not necessarily a match, the 10%. They are going to they're going to be giving us some frontage roads that we're going to have to maintain. They're going to be adding to our road inventory. And what they're going to do is that they're going to try to do some life modeling on that to see how much money over the life of this project that the county would have to put towards the maintaining of the frontage roads. They'll be taking that as in-kind match from the 10%. If the county were to close a bridge down somewhere, they would take that and put it against the 10%. And they're still looking for other options. When this was shared with Gray County, they didn't really explain it to Gray County as far as they made it sound to Gray County like they was going to have to come up with 10% cash match, and that's not the case. I know that originally when they discussed this with me, that if the county can give some cash funds, that would be great. If we can't give some cash funds, then KDOT would actually carry what they felt like the county needed to put in, and where the county could pay on it for a lot of years. But nothing has really been set yet, and I don't know when they're going to. I'm guessing that the meetings coming up, the 15th and 16th, is probably to go over their final plans, because initially we gave our input with them and told them what we wanted and stuff, and I think that's what the meetings are coming out in.
Yeah, and I know the plans now are very different from what they originally had shown us in Pierceville months ago, as far as how they're gonna flow the traffic. For the benefit of the other 4 commissioners, what prompted me to ask Curtis to do some additional questioning and research is when we were at KAC and one of our breakouts, the Public Works Director in Gray County said to the whole group, we're being asked to put for our 10% on this highway project from Cimarron to Garden City, the portion that's in Gray County, and we're being asked to put in $6 million, and we don't have $6 million. And so that's what opened my ears to this cost share thing, but I had heard the phrase cost share, but I thought it was for projects going forward, not projects that were already in place, like this one has been for a couple of years. So the thing caught my attention, and that's what prompted me to ask Curtis to do some clarifying, because part of that project's in Gray County, part of it obviously is in Finney County, connecting out where the airport is. So, questions or comments to Curtis
The good
about
thing
that?
is we don't have many miles.
Not too many miles, but for a little county like Gray County, $6 million caught their attention pretty fast, so.
I intend to go to that meeting at Pierceville. so-
Good, yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to, but that'd be great if one of us is there at least. Dwayne, any comments or questions? Bob?
No, I think their listening tours are often interesting, because you get to listen, but you don't get to say anything.
Sometimes that is true, yeah, yeah. Make,
They're not
gives a,
listening, we are.
gives a whole new meaning to listening, yeah. Larry, any comments or questions? Okay. Appreciate that update, and just keep your eyes and ears open, and as far as funds that we might be asked to chip in someday.
Will do.
Anything else? Anything
Yep.
else from
I
public?
have one more, but I'm gonna let Mackenzie give this update.
Oh, okay. Well, and then, before you step away though, I know that there was a question before our meeting on, because you and Robert and I were all in Kansas City when former Commissioner Halber gave his report. And I think you had Pat Knoll here at the meeting to hear what Roman was saying, but we wanted to make sure that that message had gotten to you since you were out of town, and if there's any update to what Roman Halber was asking about safety and traffic and stuff out on that road. Was Pat here that day?
Yes, Pat was here, but, I'll be honest with you, I haven't heard from Pat on that.
Okay, so we do need a
So,
report back on that.
okay, so I will get with Pat on that. Yeah, that,
Yeah,
It was an incident that, caused damage on their property from somebody that was driving way too fast on a dirt road and missed the curb, and he was wondering about guardrails, I think.
right. Yeah, he was one.
Old Post Road, I believe, wasn't it?
It's Old Post Road, yeah. So, yes, if you would visit with Pat, and then if you need to reach out to Roman after you talk to Pat.
well, that's one of the things Pat had informed me when he had heard that guy who had called. He figured it probably had to do with the condition of the road out there and then the alignment. So probably kind of falls within what Pat figured, but I have not heard from what was.
Asking for some railing and stuff too, so, but if you would, and then follow back with us at our next meeting with a report.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then I did have another thing, the conference, last year when we had that local conference here, what is it, Western Kansas Highway Association?
Southwest Kansas Highway.
Yeah, I just want to let you guys know that it is coming up in February again. We didn't inform you guys of that last year, and so it's kind of a surprise to you guys. So I'll keep you updated on that too as it gets closer to us, but it is in February.
Yeah, as soon as you can give us the date for it, even if it's.
I have it,
on the agenda, that'd be good.
It's always on a Thursday.
It seems. So we can block out the date anyhow.
I must have it right here somewhere. It is Thursday, February 16th, and it'll be at the Clarion Inn at 9 o'clock.
All right. Yeah, keep us up to date on that, but we can get it on our calendars for sure.
Okay, will do.
Thank you. So, now, Mackenzie, and as you come to the podium, if you would state name and position, I appreciate that.
Mackenzie Phillips, the Development and Administrative Coordinator for Public Works. I just wanted to bring up an issue that was brought to our attention from Dave Jones last week. A citizen did reach out to Commissioner Jones about a concern about a large number of truck parking over at 2701, 2703 West Mary. That's at the corner of North Cummings Road and Mary Street on your way out to Holcomb, near the Jones and Mary intersection. So we are looking into this issue right now. That property was granted a conditional use permit back in 2006. But there are some things that happened afterwards that we're just looking into the legalities of that conditional use permit, and we're gonna try to figure out a solution to help remediate the situation. So, we have had a lot of complaints probably in the past year or the past couple years about truck parking, and that is something that we will be looking into to help the community, since we are a huge trucking community, so.
Appreciate you looking into that. Dave, any additional comments?
I happened to be attending the meeting for my partner over there, and she approached Leonard. I was visiting Leonard Hitz. She approached with concern, and then she followed that up with this email to me. So I just wanted to make sure that somebody responded, and I appreciate Mackenzie doing that.
Yeah.
Wayne, any
We're
questions?
working on it.
Anything from your,
No, just a comment that we need to find truck parking.
We do.
Bob, any comments or questions? Larry? All right. Mackenzie, thank you for keeping us informed.
No
Appreciate
problem. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Now, Gabby, can you step away for just a little bit and come to the podium, please? I had asked Gabby to give us an update on the election information because, well, not just because, but Secretary of State had put out some information last week with regard to advanced voting and so forth, and I felt like we needed to get that information from our county election officer, which Gabby is in that role with Dory's absence. So. Gabby?
So, quick update for our elections. Today, our early voting ends here in our building at noon. And then tomorrow, our polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at our polling locations. Options for the return advance mail ballots, we have them being mailed here to our office. We have a drop box outside our building. And then they're more than welcome to drop them off at the polling locations, as long as they're received by 7 p.m. tomorrow. And if they're sent through the mail, they need to be postmarked by November 8, which is election day. And we'll need to have them to be received in our office by Monday, November 14th. Our post-election audit, we still have the time to be announced. We're not sure exactly on the date on it. We're shooting maybe Friday or Monday after the election. We're not sure yet on those. The county canvass will be on Monday, November 21st at 8:30. And the election certification by State Board of Canvassers by law must take place by the first day of the next month following an election. And then we have some numbers for our early voting. So for 2018, our early voting numbers were 1,539. So far right now in our building, we've had 1,387. And then mail ballots that were received for 2018 were 455. So far right now, we've had 311 received in our office.
That's what you've received back.
Yes.
Did you say, if you did, I apologize, but did you say how many mail ballots you've sent out?
This election, 565.
Thank you. If you said that, I apologize for restating. Anything else? Gabby?
No, so on express ballots, we've had a lot of more people getting used to using our express. We have, so far for early, almost 60% of our voters have used those.
Good. Yeah. Larry, any questions or?
Are you going to talk about the magistrate positions, judge positions, or you want to talk about that?
Dory did put out a release on that.
Okay, have you had any feedback?
No, we just had one voter question. Dory explained what the release said, and he was fine with it.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty self-evident, you know, what you said, so
Bob? Dwayne? Dave?
I voted last week and I was number 648, so I was about midway.
There you go. All right. The question I had, your second bullet point or somewhere, was have we had any change in polling places this year, or are they all the same as they have been in the previous?
They're all the same.
Previous few elections? Yeah, okay. So if people have questions about their polling place, they can find that on the website, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes,
Or contact the clerk's
They
office.
can contact us and we can let them know.
If they have a question on their polling place, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that update.
You're welcome.
Now I'm going to look at our county administrator. Do you have anything to report today?
Just a few things. Reminder, this afternoon, we do have a sales tax meeting. I think a lot of that information went out. The county will be making a request for appropriation of sales tax for a couple of additions within that project for the fire station EMS building. One of them is the extension of dark fiber, dedicated fiber that we ran back in 2020. Extension where we terminated it there at Jenny Barker Road and East Mary. We'd extend that to where the proposed EMS fire station would be going. Estimated price on that, using the same provider that we used back in 2020, is approximately $170,000. And then the second request on appropriation is for an ambulance remount. For background, we purchase Osage ambulances, and they have the capability of being remounted, saving us substantial money during a remount, up to $50,000. We have 3 extremely high mileage ambulances, and the request is to use the sales tax money to do a remount on Unit 91, which has 185,000 miles on it. Estimated cost that I believe Skylar got on this was approximately $225,000 to do a remount on that. It should then get completed about the same time that that facility is completed, and then it would be dedicated to that new facility. So overall, anticipated request appropriation for the sales tax dollars. And once again, this is outside the construction, so it wouldn't be an add-on for the construction. Anticipated request would be $395,000. We'll make that this afternoon over at that sales tax meeting. So that's just a brief update. Skylar, do you have any update on that facility while we're on the topic?
Morning, gentlemen and lady. So the bids, the bids are open tomorrow. I think they're due at 2 p.m. are the closed bids for all of them. Last time I checked, I think they had 5 at that time. No local contractors have accepted the bid for it. They're busy with other projects or something like that. So process is going through. Several addendums have come through on the process from the architects. So we're moving right along on that. So we should know tomorrow at 2 p.m. what the bids are going to be as well. the estimate cost for the whole project is still hard to pin down due to the changes in the market with everything. They mentioned that a similar project in Hayes, though it was a little smaller project, had like a $477 per square foot number to it. So it would have been like, if we were to extrapolate that into ours, it'd be around 15 million. So again, those are just estimates based off of a previous project. So they still are, they can't really narrow it down on what they think their estimate's going to be just yet.
And that you're referencing the entire fire.
The entire project, yeah.
I want to make sure everybody was clear, and especially those that are watching.
Yeah, so that's,
Bids for that are.
yeah, right. Yeah, I think there's 30-some thousand square feet for the fire part, and we are up just under 7,000 square feet for ours.
Before Robert goes on, any questions or comments? Robert and I will be attending, and I think you're all.
Yeah, I'll be there as well.
This afternoon, the sales tax committee meeting. Any other questions or comments, though, regarding that specific issue? Yeah, Bob?
Yeah, at one time, there was some conversation about having the sales tax issue also cover some of your personnel costs. Is that still viable?
We're not probably going to ask that right now at this point. Just I know when we first talked about this project, the difference between what fire is doing and what I am doing is I currently have staffing. I don't have to add positions to my staff to fill that with our current structure, whereas fire does. And so they actually have to create new positions to fill that. And so we elected to not pursue that issue. We weren't confident in getting it to go through, because when we were going through this initial process, when we were the very beginning, they did ask me very, very specifically on that, and I mentioned because at that time I was like, no, I currently have the way that we're running our system right now. I have the staffing for that.
Well, it just seemed like the personnel side of operating that over the next 20 years versus the money we're asking for, the personnel would be far more expensive. Okay, thank you.
The annual cost on personnel, I think you did an estimate on that. We somewhere, if I remember correctly, somewhere around $160,000 a year annually.
Yeah, around that. Yeah, I believe so.
Would be the operating for those two personnel. I think, in general, if the approach is with the sales tax is to utilize it to pay for the operations of the facility, to include personnel and equipment, then I would suggest that it seems to be an appropriate request. And we can still make that request, and they have some time to debate that on that sales tax committee to whether or not to include that, if that seems reasonable to the board.
Yeah, I think as long as we keep it on the table, I'd sure hate to see it removed.
Yeah,
Thanks.
we can do that.
Yeah, I think it is still on the table, and I know Larry brought that up after he attended, the last quarter's meeting or something like that, and so it is on the table. But the presentation today will be for the remount on the ambulance and
The dark fiber.
Fiber run. Yeah.
and the fiber optics. And to me, the fiber optics is a no-brainer, and the other one's a question. And the question that the sales tax group asks each time is this something that they feel it was within the parameters of the sales tax ballot issue? So that'll be the guiding principle on any of these requests as the sales tax group gets together. So, anything else, Dwayne or Dave?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you. What else, Robert?
Excuse me, as you've heard today, working with Public Works on a lot of year-end stuff on equipment, and various contracts. We've got about 50 days left in this year, so we're starting to look at where the county will be financially, ending fund balance as it relates to what we budgeted, and how we can position ourselves properly for 2024 when we begin that budgeting process in the March timeframe. I do meet with the sheriff this afternoon, and that will be one of the topics I'll be working with him on as well, trying to set up some monies. As you recall, he talked a little bit about the last time that he spoke with the commission, difficulty getting rolling stock vehicles and so forth. So we want to make sure that we set aside some resources for replacement of that. So we're working with not just that, but not just Public Works and Sheriff, but all the departments on setting that up. We have, once again, about 50 days left to tie up the loose ends in that regard. So there's a lot of moving parts. We do have a meeting on the 14th, next Monday, and that is over in Dodge City. That's Southwest Kansas Chamber. I think quite a few of you attended that when it was in Liberal. So that's coming up next Monday as well, just as a reminder. Continually monitoring with assistance of IMA our healthcare costs and so forth. You recall the update on that when we went through the renewal back in October. Early October. County still having some high experience in that, and then we'll begin to set up monthly meetings with a couple of representatives from the Board of County Commissioners to sit in on those conversations, so we can start looking at what that might look like for the 2024 budget. So, and I would anticipate that will take place shortly after the first of the year. Once again, about 45, 50 days away. So.
Anything else or any questions to our administrator? Yes, Dave.
I have a quick question. The invitation you sent out, Robert, that for a banquet to honor some folks.
Oh, yes.
Did you get when that, I'm going to make a statement here that you can agree or disagree with, but when that comes 2 or 3 days ahead of an event, most of us probably have already got things kind of booked, so I apologized.
Yeah, and it was a short time span on it to try and get some people to go to that. I know that Sheriff Mike and his wife attended that, was able to attend that.
Seemed like a worthwhile event, but so anyway, okay.
Dwayne?
Okay.
Anything? Bob, anything to, Larry, anything, question, Robert? All right, we'll move on then to Linda, County Councilor report, and are we getting close to a tax sale?
Yeah, I've actually elicited some assistance on that because with the constraints going on from a lot of directions, so I am getting a little bit of assistance, so it should be getting done this week. I mean, as far as the filing. And then just working on getting as many things accomplished and in a good place before my last day. Mackenzie and I met on Friday with regard to subdivision regulations, talked about just a lot of issues with regard to that short-term and long-term. So that's mostly what I'm working on.
Remind me again, your last day with the county is?
November 28th.
28th.
Yep.
I knew it was toward the end of the month, but I couldn't remember. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Any questions or two?
Last day?
Huh?
What did you just say is the 20th?
28th is her last day with the county. Was that not announced at the last meeting?
No?
Oh. I'm,
It was just an email.
oh, well, I misunderstood. I thought it was announced at the last meeting when Robert and I were absent, so.
Can we
Oh,
vote on that?
I'd love to, but, so, yeah, I'm sorry. I had a misunderstanding. I thought it had already been announced here, so, yes, if you would explain, please.
Oh, I apologize. I guess I didn't even think about that necessarily. Yes, I put in my resignation for this position, and my last day will be November 28th.
And you're going to,
I have accepted the position as municipal court judge. Of course, that's a part-time position as well, so I'll continue as a partner at the law firm of Callahan.
and I think you start that 1st of December?
Yes, the municipal court judge position begins December 1.
I thought we talked about that, because we were laughing about having to be before.
Pre-meeting.
Before her as a judge.
That was talked about, I was either absent or didn't hear.
Well, I apologize for the confusion, because I just had understood that it was mentioned at the last meeting when we were absent, so if that didn't happen,
That may not have happened publicly. I know we all discussed it, but we may not have done it as part of the regular meeting.
and it was announced at the city commission that the contract had been signed for the municipal judge. So
You have a replacement, I take it.
I certainly have been doing my best to recruit for this position. So I've talked to a few people, but that's up to you all.
It's funny how they walk away and leave that in our hands. But the last thing I would say as we transition from Linda's report to our commission reports is that the county councilor reports is a direct report to the Board of County Commissioners. So it will be within our purview to make a decision on what to do with regard to that position. So, yes.
Where are we on RHIDs? Do we have any in process? Do we have our system formalized so that we can go forward?
Well, yeah, so at the next meeting, I think is the public hearing. Mackenzie's not here, but I believe that the public hearing for that first Randall RHID is on the 21st. So is that what you're asking, Bob?
Well, or are there any other ones in line that you've started that they're gonna be handed off, or?
There are other RHID projects in play. They are not as far along as, of course, what Randall is. And I know Ponderosa and Country Acres are on the radar, but
But they haven't started.
no.
But we do have the system now that should make them flow a little simpler.
Yes, I'm very hopeful. And NDS, of course, assisted with that. And now that we have Mackenzie over here, that's been very, very helpful at smoothing that process. So I think we should have systems in play that whoever takes over this role should be able to utilize in making this a more smooth process.
Very good, thank you.
That's a reasonable question. All right, thank you, Linda, appreciate it. And upcoming meetings, there's one page in our packet that showed some chamber breakfast and a few other things, so make sure that I would just encourage you to make sure you look at that. And in my report, I'll give you some other meeting dates. I won't do that at this particular time for next year. Then let's head into the commissioner reports, and then once we do that, we'll have a break, and then we'll go into our executive sessions. So Larry, you want to kick off the commissioner report?
The only thing I had down was did some political functions for candidates that were in town, and then also the Kansas Rural Leadership class was in Garden City last week, and we hosted them for dinner at our house, and they had a speaker came in and talked to them. And it's always one of their highlight gatherings in southwest Kansas, because most of these people are from they are from all over the state of Kansas, and they're always amazed at what all we've got going on out here, and so it was a good bunch.
Bob?
Yeah, I attended the chamber breakfast, and the city did their kind of state of the city, if you will, and I gave each of you a handout of what they presented as their financial profile. I think it was really good that the city stood up and said, hey, here's who we are, what we've done, what we've been working on, and what we're planning to do. And I guess I would challenge our group to start thinking about doing something like that. I think when we spend as much of the taxpayer dollars as we do, we ought to report back and say, hey, this is what we've done with those dollars, and see how it works. The other thing I want to talk a little bit about, most of you were at our workforce summit, if you will. It started at the college. We kind of have hit the ground running. It's worked well. When we were at the chamber breakfast, we had the opportunity to meet with representatives of the chamber board and their executive team. Also what they call their next gen, which is kind of their young professionals group. And we also met with their ambassadors and the downtown vision people. And we talked about how important it's going to be for the business community to get involved in education. Very, very well received. We've also had a meeting with Roxanne at CVB explaining the urgency that we have from their industries, and she is very, very supportive and looking forward to it. We've had 2 meetings with USD 457 here in Garden, and last Thursday we met with the superintendent, the principal, and the head of their continuing education and career technical education out in Holcomb. Again, very, very solid, and we've created some dates where we're going to have the opportunity to interact with business community and students, business communities and teachers, and then have some parents and students and teachers and business all gathering. So very, very positive momentum. Those of you who were at the college for the original kickoff, there was a gentleman there, Joe Coles from Cimarron, who heads up an organization called Southwest Kansas Entrepreneurial Showcase. And they move around Southwest Kansas and basically attract students to come in and go through a showcase day of various industries. They have one for education, one for medicine, one for agriculture, one for the beef industry, one for construction, and I don't know what the rest of them are. But anyway, bottom line, this Thursday, he is bringing that showcase to Tetro out on West Thompson. They have 12 school districts and 217 students registered. And they have 10 businesses coming in to talk to those students. And it's just a perfect example of what can be done if we all kind of work together. And there was such a demand that they had to close it off because basically they could only handle about 200. So 457 at Garden City on Friday is going to do the same thing, and they have over 100 students that are going to attend. So very, very positive. If any of you need a free lunch, want to stop in, it goes from 9:15 in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They're in and out of various topics, and it'll be a really exciting day for Southwest Kansas. We had our 5th Monday session with economic development in the city, the county, and the various entities. Went very well. We got an update on housing, got an update on childcare. Childcare was a little disappointing because at the time they were closed on Community Daycare Center, and hopefully, I don't know, Lana, whether you want to report on that, whether they're back open or not, but hopefully they were going to open again today. Did they?
Lana Duvall, Finney County Economic Development. Yes, their plan was to reopen today under the tutelage still of the Community Daycare Centers Board. That license is still in their name. We do have a Finney County Child Care and Early Learning Network Board meeting tonight to put together an improvement plan that will allow them to reach all of their licensing requirements prior to the network actually taking over the management of that center.
And then also on the other entity, the 3rd Street building, the childcare, you've now applied for.
Right, the KDHE licensing, they're telling us 60 to 90 days still, and pushing out towards the closer to 90 days to get those licenses is what they're seeing across the state right now.
Okay, so at least childcare is happening, and it was a good update. The other thing that she updated on, which was very good, I think, was all of the different housing projects that are in motion, and then the ones that are being planned that aren't in motion yet but are working. And I got to thinking about it as it applies to Kurt and all of the different things that we talk about in our county improvement plan. As several of these projects are out in the county, You know, I think we need to continually be aware through our HID process and all of the developer agreements and stuff. You know, are there things coming at us from an expense standpoint that we need to be planning as we go forth in our budgets as to what the developer does and does it ever start impacting us? I know we've talked a lot about Mansfield Road as an example. There's a lot of development out there and we know, yes, it's there, but we really haven't done anything. And we see the Northwest development going on, and I know Dwayne and Dave and Robert and Kurt and myself were out for the groundbreaking. And I went out 3rd Street to Rod Key Road and then down 8th Street. And there's a pretty good size fertilizer business right down there. But I was driving by the other day on the bypass and I see them extending utilities almost all the way to 8th Street. And everything we've seen so far has all of the access off of 83. And I'm wondering, is there ever gonna come a time where either Rodkey or 8th Street need to start coming into play? May not be today, but if that whole thing develops, it might impact us. And I just think it's things that need to be on the radar that we need to think about and talk about at different times. Compass, their board situation, they're fighting the same thing everybody else does. They're trying to come up with a way to make their budget balance and yet give their employees the kind of wages and salary structure that lets them become effective. That's all I have.
Robert and Kurt, did you have something? Yeah, I appreciate that, Bob, but did you have comments with regard to the developments and so forth?
Just real briefly, I think I'll let Kurt speak a little bit about
Good.
impacts as it
Good.
relates to developments, and that's one thing
I think that's important.
that we really put in place since I've gotten here to try and mitigate the impact with these new developments. So Kurt, if you want to take that.
Well, when we have a development that is going to create impacts to the county, there's several ways that we can deal with that. The one thing that I'm looking at in the future is I'm getting ready to redo the subdivision regulations that we have here in the county so that when a new subdivision comes in, they have better specifications of what they need to do within that development. But so many times you have somebody come in that's going to put an impact to a road. What I've done in the past is I've addressed that through what you call as adequate infrastructure regulations, to where if let's just say a trucking outfit is proposed to come in on a certain place, and that trucking outfit is going to put a lot of impact to a county road, there needs to be a mechanism in there to where in some cases the county might not want to actually approve that if the impact is going to be too great on the county, something that the county can't really upgrade themselves. If there's a section of road the county needed upgraded, we don't want to have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to pave a road. So you do that through adequate infrastructure regulations to where you can say, we are going to basically deny it because our road is not adequate at this time. What's happened in the past is that, in the past I've seen to where developer, it kind of puts it on the developer to where, well, if I want my application to be approved, maybe what I should do is think about seeing what I would have to do to bring that road up to specification in order for the county to approve it. We have some things right now we're working on to where we can go ahead and put, when we see an impact coming, we can go ahead and put that in our developer's agreement too. And that's something on one developer's agreement we're looking at right now, is trying to figure out how we can handle the impact that's going to be given to us And right now, the only mechanism we have is through the developers agreement. But in the future, there's some regulations I'd like to bring forward that just makes it easier on the county, and it's not requiring the developer to do anything. When you get into impact fees get very, very hard on a county because a county is spread out so much. Impact fees are too hard to use. But through the adequate infrastructure regulations, it makes it easy to where a developer can know, well, you know, if I want to bring in a development at such and such place, if I propose to go ahead and bring that road up to a certain level, then the county would be able to approve it.
Bob?
I think as long as we don't write in so many regulations and build so many fences that we hang a sign up that says, you don't want to go deal with Finney County. So somewhere along the line, we need to look at the cost-benefit analysis of what's it going to cost us, what are we going to benefit, and which side. It doesn't have to be about winning and losing, but it has to be about overall, it's got to be good for the county, and it's got to be good for the economy. And, you know, if we write everything to where we cover our rear in the absolute best way, we may never have a problem. And I don't think we ever want to reach that situation. I know we've got some of the best roads anywhere, and we got a hell of a lot of roads in Finney County, and we got to take care of them. But we also need to keep our doors open. So
I would agree.
somewhere in between, the balance is what we're looking for.
I would agree with that. The only thing is that through adequate infrastructure regulations and stuff, it's a lot like what just happened with us on this lift station. The county is forced to take over an impact that they actually didn't really want. And now it's up to the rest of the taxpayers in the county to have to foot that bill. And a developer,
You said the ARPA money was going to pay for that.
well, as of right now, we're having to pay it out of the public works budget right now.
Okay. Well, you know, I don't want to have a debate. I just wanted to make sure that there is an awareness that things can happen, and we need to have ideas and concepts in place so that we don't have surprises after the fact, that we have, everybody knows what everybody else is doing, and it cannot be so restrictive that we close our doors.
I agree.
I think what we're attempting to do is to put in place just exactly that type of a structure. My background is that oftentimes we will do a cost share on, let's say, major roads that will be impacted by a residential or commercial development, as opposed to pushing all that cost on the developer. And that is something we can use just quite honestly, industry standards. Residential trips per day is 7 per household. Anticipated water usage per day is 100 gallons per day. Those are industry standards that are used for planning as we move forward on these known developments, so that we can potentially then participate with the developer to solve those challenges. And that's what we're looking at.
I think as long as it comes to it with that kind of an attitude, great things happen. Thank you.
Thank you, both of you. Anything else, Bob?
No.
Dwayne?
Well, I think mine's gonna be boring. I did attend the planning commission meeting, I think as did 2 other fellow commissioners. Convention Visitors Bureau, their budget, the receipts are coming in a little bit above hoped for, so they're right on budget, and they feel very good about all that. Great Plains did have their annual meeting. I was volunteered to be on the ballot, and so I guess I am reelected for 3 years on the Great Plains Development. So lucky me. That's it.
That's all?
That's all.
Well, and let me add one thing. When you're talking about the revenues of CVG, made me think, it kind of ties to sales tax too. I just saw in Reno County, their sales tax and so forth were down, not specific to CVB. I get that, but it just triggered that thought where ours continues to move forward.
And to follow up on that, she does, as a lot of you know, compared to surrounding cities, counties, then we are holding our own, if not exceeding our fellow communities in convention and hotel receipts.
Good point.
Speaking of Reno County, it was a couple Saturdays ago, I happened to spend that weekend in Hutchinson for a Highway Patrol retirees reunion, so I called one former county administrator to see if I could get him to buy a cup of coffee, and our planning was off. He was in Garden City and I was in Hutchinson, so we didn't get a chance to get together. Meetings, report on a couple, three here right quick. The library board, rather typical meeting, except the folks from Genesis have entered into an agreement of sorts with the library, and they're gonna kind of open up a room, if you will, a shop, to handle some immigrant details and a few medical issues and a few things at our library. And the only concern I had was any liability, and the LS&S legal staff say that the library is not in jeopardy, and so we can ask Linda. I don't think there's a...
Pam Toller called me about that issue, and we had a good conversation about the legalities and kind of just some pitfalls going forward. It sounded like a fantastic idea for the community. It's certainly something that we can make work legally.
So, you know, that I think is a good, positive development. I attended the planning commission, and I don't need to report on it. There wasn't anything of great significance there. LEPC, I attended, and they have decided, Mackenzie's decided with her crew that they will meet every month on the second Tuesday at 1:30. So that would be tomorrow, and I happen to have a doctor's appointment, so I'm gonna have to miss. But then they have a conflict in the EOC, and so the meeting's only gonna be online and with Microsoft, some program I don't have, and I'm not gonna load it up since I'm not going to the meeting. But anyway, that's about the size of the meetings that I attended, and so.
Where does he stand on that technology issue?
That's pretty evident.
Well,
I'm just bumping you.
I have a personality conflict with a computer, so. Anyway.
Well, that's well stated, well stated. Several things to report from my end is the KAC conference that several of us attended was probably one of the better conferences I've been to, but as I've stated to several people, I get as much benefit out of the relationship building and so forth between sessions as I do the breakout sessions, but usually I took away at least 1 point from each of the breakout sessions with regard to how to read statutes properly, budgeting, several other things that were very beneficial. So in the future, anyone can, if anyone can go in addition to myself, I would highly encourage it. Tomorrow, I have been invited to join Garden City Community College. Their higher learning accreditation team is going to be here, and there's a handful of us that have been asked to come and do some community input with that team, which we did the last time they were here as well. I mentioned the sales tax meeting at 2 o'clock today that I'll be attending. The Carl, we also had a dinner in addition to what Larry did as hosting Carl. We had a dinner and heard Tony Mativi do a play-by-play, if you will, of the bomb threat, but also gave a great tribute to, I always forget his first name, Dan Day. Yeah, Dan, I can always think of Dave, but Dan Day, and he really did a nice job of highlighting the strife that Dan went through with regard to that and the risk that he took. I mentioned the Veterans Day a little in my opening comments, and as we were meeting, Robert sent me a picture. NACO has what they call the Green Light Project with regard to, and it's supporting Operation Green Light for veterans. And one of the things that I asked Robert and Rex to do was to see if they could do something with the green lights. The principle behind what NACO is proposing, and there's a number of counties within Kansas that have bought into it, is to have your buildings lit in green in recognition and honor of our veterans, and do that during this week, from today through the end of the week. And Robert sent me a picture, and it looks like the administration center is decked out in green that's visible at night. Am I correct on that? Yes, that's correct. And so if anyone in the community wants to come by and say a prayer for our veterans while they're looking at the green lights on the administration building, or any of the commissioners are down here to see that, it's an impressive sight based on the picture I saw earlier today. Then, if you would, please, jot down some dates. One was mentioned to us a minute ago, was the Southwest Kansas Transportation on February 16. But also, if you would, got to get it uncovered here. Local Government Day for KAC is January 25th. It's a Wednesday in Topeka. That ties with our Southwest Kansas Chambers Legislative Night on the 23rd of January. I do plan to be there for those 2 or 3 days and attend both myself, but anyone else is welcome to be there as well. County, and last year, KAC started a county day at the Capitol to really highlight county government and local government and so forth. And it's a full day where we're in the rotunda of the Capitol with tables from the treasurers to the appraisers to Public Works. Anybody, any county, we can have a table ourselves as Finney County and have CVB join us if we want to, since that's a part of our county government. And that day is Thursday, February 9th in the state capitol. This will be for new commissioners, but any current commissioners are welcome to attend, but it's the new commissioners' orientation, and it's where I received the information about our mandated services 8 years ago and so forth. And that is going to be in Topeka on Wednesday through Friday, January 11th through 13th, in a couple months. Then the next KAC conference, annual conference, it will be in Wichita for next 2 years, I think it is, 2 or 3 years. And yeah, we're getting it back out in this part of the country. But it will be, and they moved it to December. It will be December 5 through 7 at the Hyatt Regency and Century 2 in Wichita. But they've been getting complaints about October, November dates, and I think years ago, I think it was always in December. When my father-in-law, many, many years ago, served in Gray County, I think they always planned on it being the first part of December. So I think they're moving back to a time when maybe doesn't conflict with elections and some of the other things that we've got staff doing.
Think Johnson County can find their way to Wichita?
You know, I doubt if they do, but we'll give them the opportunity to. Johnson County will have a new commission chair at that time because Ed Eilert did not choose to run, so they've got quite a battle going on for their commission chair, by the way. And then the last thing, well, yeah, I think it's the last thing as far as dates. The Kansas County Commissioner Association has its conference in April, 25th through the 27th of April, and this year it will be in Hayes. Last year it was in Liberal, but this year in Hayes, and more for Robert maybe, but they are looking for hosts for this conference and moving it around. And so if Finney County would want to try to be the host for that conference next year, we need to get our name into KAC office and let them know what facilities and so forth. I haven't seen the facility for this meeting in April, but I would assume it's the Garden Hilton Inn in Hayes, their new, one of their new facilities. And then lastly, I was asked to serve on the KCCA board, and so I was elected or selected or ramrodded or whatever into that position, starting with our annual conference in October. So I'll be doing that for, I think it's a couple-year term. I'm not sure. Oh, and then just a couple of quick announcements. If any of you, it does affect me, but if any of you are involved with the employee benefits through the county, we're supposed to see Kelly or someone in that office today and make sure we get signed up properly for that, for the benefits. And I think that's all that I had. So I hope some of you will be able to attend some of those meetings throughout the next year.
Has anything happened on the convention center RFP? No, September?
Yeah, we looked at some proposals, that's a valid question. Looked at some proposals and had a meeting last week. However, not a final conclusion yet, and that we're gonna try to do some follow-up starting tomorrow, because we think there was some misunderstanding about the scope of what that is, and we're trying to get figured out what it is we really need, and we'll be starting that follow-up process tomorrow. But it is in process, and we did have a meeting last week with the various entities that have been involved in that task force. So we should have more to report within the next week or so. Okay, any other things for the good of the cause from a report standpoint?
Break time.
It will be break time, and we do have two executive sessions. So we'll take a 10-minute break, and so we would start the executive sessions about 10:35. Well, wait a minute. Oh, that clock's off. It looks like, because I've got 10:35 already on my, or 10:26. Oh, yeah, 20, I thought it said 36. Yeah, it said, yeah, so we're about, yeah. So about 10:35, so Robert, the first session, well, both of them are for non-elected personnel. But the first session, we need to have Linda join us, if I'm not mistaken. Both. Linda should be in both? You and Linda, anyone else? Kelly in both? She'll be in the first. Okay, so we'll have Kelly join us for the first one. So Robert, Linda, and Kelly will join the board members in the first executive session, and what do you think, 15 minutes or 20? Or 10? So what do you think? Yes, no, we're gonna do, no, but I'm trying to make the motion so then we can go from break into the session. Okay. Is what I'm trying to do.
So moved.
Well, I'm trying to get a time, though.
20 minutes.
Okay, well, let's say up to 10 minutes, starting at 10:35, reconvening at 10:45 for non-elected personnel to include board members, Linda, Kelly, and Robert. I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. So now we are on break. needs to be noted that there's no action to be taken from that executive session. We need to reconvene, or convene into another executive session for the discussion of non-elected personnel. We're gonna do that for a time of up to 20 minutes, starting at 10:45. And it will include the commissioners and Kelly, and Robert, and Linda. So with that, there's motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dwayne. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. So we will be reconvening here at about 11:05. No action from that executive session. And we are done with executive sessions, and just one last call for anything for the good of the order that maybe we've forgotten in our reports or something that came to mind. The Southwest Kansas Chamber, or? Yeah, with the right. Yeah, the two of us. Anybody else? Okay.
What's the time again on that?
It's 6 o'clock, I believe. Okay, yeah, it depends. It's next Thursday, the 17th. No, wait a minute. Oh, what day is that? Yeah, it's the 14th. I'm sorry, yeah. 14th at 6 at the United Conference Center. It's in their conference center. I assume they'll be in that big conference room.
14th Monday, what did you say?
Right, yeah, Monday. I'm sorry, I confused the issue. Yeah, it's Monday. So if you guys want to go, let's load up and go. Okay. Mine will be if I don't have something before. I may have something in Gray County before, so.
Give me a buzz if I forget to call you.
Okay, no problem. But yeah, it's Monday at 6 o'clock. Yep, 14th. Oh, and then I do have one other thing. I've asked Larry to cover for me as chair of the meeting on the 21st, which I'll need to figure out the canvassing thing too, since we're canvassing, but I'll visit with Robert about that. But I have a grandchild baptism on that Sunday and a grandparents' day on that Monday, and I feel like those two are calling me. I told, plus I told Larry, I've decided just to go to once a month meetings, even though you guys meet twice, you know. But nevertheless, I hated it that it conflicted with another board meeting, but Larry can handle it. Anything else? If not, we're adjourned till the 21st.